A man getting bit by an alligator and he screams. Sit out, Shorty.
Oh! No, not an owl. A real scream of pain.
Welcome back, Screamers, to another episode where we find out exactly what song the one-armed piccolo player was playing. Today, we're all in on California Split, Robert Altman's good time gambling film. And Jason, we have a very special guest. Returning to the show, director most recently of The Confession, Will Canon. Welcome back, Will.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, you guys.
No, of course, it's our pleasure. And Will, so we're just gonna again kind of jump right in because to focus on you, right? At least for the start. The Confession played at DIFF in 2025. Well, that's where we saw it, and where we met you. But tell us what's going on with the film now.
So it just came out in the U.S. January 16th. It's on all the major streaming platforms where you can rent and buy movies: Apple TV, iTunes, Amazon, Fandango. So it's been out for 2 weeks, and last week we were kind of climbing the horror charts on iTunes, which was kind of fun.
Nice.
So I'm just kind of enjoying it being out, and it's just nice to not really have, when you work on a movie, you work on it so long, so it's just nice to not have to give notes about something or answer questions about the mix or the this or the that. So I'm just kind of enjoying it, letting other people just enjoy it,
Yeah. I mean, and it's listener, do yourself a favor and watch this film. Go out, rent the film, buy the film, right? Buy several electronic copies of the film to pass on to other people.
On all the streaming platforms, you need to own it on every single one of them.
Yes.
You should have 4 or 5 copies at least. I mean, if you don't, you're not trying.
That's right. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about all of that stuff. Now you just have to worry about doing the next film, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you said it was in the U.S. Is it was it out earlier in other territories, or how does that work for you guys? Getting distribution in other places. I know it can.
Yeah. So basically, each country is its own, territory, and a lot of times the U.S. distributor will want other territories to hold it back, so it comes out in the U.S. first for a variety of reasons, some of which I probably know, and there's probably other ones that I don't know. But they're always kind of waiting on the U.S. So basically, I think our sales agent has sold maybe 7 or 8 of the territories, and then and so we're just kind of waiting for it to be kind of rolled out, like everywhere else. But yeah, it'll be out in the UK, it'll be out in France, it'll be out in Germany, it'll be out everywhere, So yeah.
Did you guys do a dubbed version of it, or is it all going to be subtitled?
I think I think that's a great question. I wasn't involved in any of the dubbing, but if you Google it, there are dubbed trailers online. So if you want to hear the confession in the trailer, at least in a different language, my guess is the distributor in each territory probably does their own dubbing. But there's a few dubbed versions out there if you jump on the old Google.
Do you know how horror films of this size play in Europe and in other countries?
Hopefully very, very well. No, I took it to, it played at Fright Fest, the genre festival in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So I flew over to London and watched it, which was amazing. And it played really well there. And it's funny, my films aren't big anywhere, so I want to take that off the table right now. But in the UK, it was like the way they were promoting it, they'd actually heard of my other films, and were like, Will Canon's back after, Demonic, after Brotherhood. So I was like, I wouldn't say any of them were big, but it was like just the fact that they had context that I had made other films and could name the titles and get them right or close to right. I was like, hey, that's a step, I like that.
They've heard of you in Sheboygan.
Big in Sheboygan, really
Big in
big.
Sheboygan, yeah.
Huge.
So a while back, we were talking about the film It Ends, and it's premiering on the new Letterboxd rental platform. I don't know if you've seen anything about that.
I haven't really even seen that. So it's on. So okay. So Letterboxd has a platform and it's streaming on their platform. Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool. Okay.
yeah. And so, I mean, and I think we had this kind of question of like, I wonder like if there are some insights you can give us, whatever you're able to, into like the decisions filmmakers are faced with when it comes to different types of distribution.
Yeah. I think the biggest part is you're making a little movie, and you have to reconcile that every dollar that goes out is a dollar that you're hopefully going to make back for your investors, the company, wherever this money came from. And like with theatrical, like my first movie Brotherhood had a really small theatrical release. It played in 3 theaters, and they had to. And the idea back then was like, okay, maybe we could platform it. It does really well. It played in Dallas first, so it was like the Angelica Mockingbird station. And it's like, okay, if it plays there, and then it's going to go to LA after that, it's going to go to New York, and and if if it does really well there, we have a story to tell, and it can kind of spread, it kind of platform, kind of the old school way that the '90s indie movies did. To me, it doesn't really seem like that happens anymore, and theatrical is so expensive that just even a small theatrical release, you have to pump so much money into advertising, and then the way that the money comes back through theatrical is just not a lot of money comes back to the filmmakers. It's more promoting it for other places. So, the two kind of big boxes to me is like the theatrical and then the streaming. And I think it's trying to find the most clever and impactful ways to release it, to hopefully get as many eyeballs on it as possible, and then also doing it in a way that's like economical. Just because like a movie like The Confession, like it's just it would be tough to, like, if we did a theatrical, it'd just be tough to, you have to spend enough money to make a difference, and that's the hard thing. Is like even if you spend $1 million, I was talking to a producer and he had a movie that had come out and it was in theaters, and he's like, we spent $750,000 promoting the theatrical, and he's like, I bet you didn't even know that the movie was out. And I was like, you're right, I didn't.
Right.
So I think that's the kind of the long-winded answer of like what I think what filmmakers are up against. And since I'd done it the other way, I'd done the theatrical. This one was when they came to me and said, we're thinking streaming, we're not thinking theatrical. That seems smart to me. I kind of assumed that would be the case. And it seemed like, let's focus our whatever sort of resources we have, let's just kind of target it where we think people will see it, and the best way to kind of capitalize it. But I do think it's really interesting, like Soderbergh on a big kind of level is always trying cool new stuff, and I'm sure indie filmmakers are doing smaller versions of that. I'm interested in all that. I mean, I'm interested to see how that stuff plays out. I think it's exciting, and
Yeah, and that was one of the questions I think we had with, and I forget, Jason, what is the Letterboxd platform called?
Oh, I don't know. They just marketed it as like a video story. It was like
Okay.
They pushed it pretty big, like at the end of the year, and then kind of rolled it out at the beginning. And It Ends there were some like online influencers who had I forget where It Ends played, what festivals, but people had seen it. It might have been South by or something like that. And it got a little bit of pub, and there were some, like they said, there were some online reviewers that were really championing it. But and so yeah, that was the big kind of release that was the one that was notable, I guess.
Interesting.
In whatever circle whatever
Yeah.
algorithm kicks off to
Because
me.
it's, I mean, I think they're sort of calling it. I mean, like you said, they're like a video store. Like you rent these things like you would have gone to Blockbuster, but you're just
Sure.
sort of, you know.
But
I
we
think,
also
you know,
talked about. Go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say,
Step on
like, we were just curious kind of how that worked, or sort of, you know, why those filmmakers made that choice to go that
Is it
route.
in what you're talking about? Is it exclusive to Letterboxd? Like, is it not? Are those films not also at the same time on other platforms?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I know that Letterbox is it's time bound, right? So like it's only going to be available. So they have like 3 different tiers. There's like new releases, or like overlooked gems type thing, and then there's curated, like a director curated. So they had when they kicked off, it was a Linkletter curated set of films that were available, and then there were some like classics on it, and the pricing tier was different for each. So like It Ends was like a $19.99 rental fee.
Okay.
So it seemed a little like comparatively to, something like, so I would imagine it's like Amazon or Apple TV when you're renting something. I would imagine those rental fee, I would imagine it probably is only available on Letterboxd for at least that short period of time, because the rental fee is significantly higher than what it is on those other platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I mean, I think like, yeah, I mean, and honestly, like I feel like the things have shifted so dramatically over the last 5 years, 10 years. It's like it seems like things are always, now it's like there's 3 kind of different like levels of the VOD. You have the pay, then you got subscription, then you got the ad. It seems like we're all trying to figure out where this is all going to land and where it's going to, so it's cool that people are trying stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess the bottom line is people want to see things, right? And filmmakers want their films to be seen, however that might be.
Yeah. It's interesting because we always have this conversation with ourselves about, theaters hurting and dying, and like it seems to me, well, and again, we have this conversation. I mean, again, we don't know anything, so don't, take this as
Like
these
at all
conversations
about
as, like,
anything. At all.
But like you talked about how people don't know about films that that are out, and I think a lot of that falls on the theaters, especially now with theaters having their own apps, and most I would imagine a lot of theater goers, if they're not tied into the actual subscription portion of it, at least they're tied into the rewards, et cetera, because it's whatever, you get discounts and merch and et cetera. It's easy to buy tickets that way. I never understand why like we're holding over. So, and I get it. I know that studios are pushing for a lot of this, but there are movies in theaters, as I look through the AMC app, that I would go to if AMC would do push notifications or give me trailers, or push these. Again, the idea behind a subscription service is they want your butts in seats, right? They don't really necessarily care what you're seeing. They just want, AMC wants you to see 4 movies a week, so you'll buy popcorn and sodas and what. Why not push something like The Confession? Of course, I know it's not playing, but why not push something like that, or the movie that you were speaking of earlier, to people? Like, the algorithm has to work. If it works for YouTube and TikTok and every place else, it has to work. It has to be available to work on those apps. And it seems to me like, if I go see X, Y, and Z, what type of movies that I typically go and see. And if I'm seeing everything, then push me, hey, here's AMC Palace is showing this, for this, for a short period of time. It's a little indie film. Go out and see it.
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't seem like, it seems like a low level cost, right? And again, and I'm not talking about, like, I understand, not everything's going to hit those theaters, but when you do have something on, in those screens, it just seems like a kind of a no-brainer to try to push attendance there.
I totally agree. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I wish I knew more about like the theatrical marketing and how they do that. But to your point, it seems like they are so specific. I mean, the algorithms, we're all on whatever platform, and it's like you have a thought, and all of a sudden it's like getting advertised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the fact that they can pretty much do that. Maybe not literally, but pretty close. But they can't get, close to, specific movies that interest you theatrically, or things that you haven't heard about. I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think of is if it's sort of like, they look at it like our tools are so broad that we just want to mass market everything, and so that make sure that people know about the Minecraft movie and make sure people know about whatever franchise, and just not that's where we're spending the money, that's where we want people buying tickets for. That's the only thing I can think of, but again, I'm no expert on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and no one's come to us and said, "Hey, Jason and Brock, can you tell us how to fix this?"
Yeah.
But
you guys
but
have
again,
great
like,
ideas.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to AMC if I'm seeing the Minecraft movie, and that matters to Sony or whomever, right? AMC just cares that I walk through AMC's doors.
Yeah.
So it just seems like if you have an open screen, and no one's buying tickets to it, why aren't you pushing? And I'm not, why aren't you pushing your subscribers to come in and watch this movie?
Especially through your own app, because
right, exactly.
You don't have to pay for, hey, this is like a $5 million advertising spend to go through, Meta or whatever, like
right. You've already got a built-in audience, right? I mean,
no, I think that's a great question. I'd be very curious why the marketing gurus don't do that,
We should call Mr. AMC and find out. Get him on the podcast.
It's so weird. I was just talking to him earlier.
Great. Well, when we're done here, you can give us his contact information.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll set up a meeting.
I'll send you the info along.
Thank you.
So once the confession, so now where you're at with the confession, like, what is your journey with this film beyond this point? Like, is there anything else left for you to do other than watch the fat checks roll in, or is it just
That's pretty much it at this point.
Yeah.
Just what you know what I mean. I'll probably go Porsche shopping pretty soon.
Nice.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll be calling. I'll see. There's a Cadillac dealership pretty close. I'm gonna go look at some.
You just showed your age there, Will.
Yeah, right. Porsche, you're like close. Cadillac. Guy's old. I see the gray in the beard. He's old.
Yeah.
You kind of like, it's funny. So on my first movie, Brotherhood, my cinematographer was a guy named Mike Fuminari, and he's since gone on. He shoots all Mike Flanagan's movies.
Okay.
He shot Dr. Sleep and all the amazing Netflix stuff he did. And he's actually a director now too. He directs his own stuff too, and he's directed some of the series with Mike Flanagan. Anyway, he gave me all kinds of great advice because he was way more experienced than I was, and he said we were talking about, there was a creative decision we were making on the movie about the prince, and he was like, okay, if we make this decision, you got to follow it all the way to the end of the line, because at the end of the day, it's good. You're the only one who's going to be on this movie. You're the only one who's going to care. It's going to basically be you in a dark room with this movie, making sure everything's done properly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he's like, if you do that, just know that. And it was just great advice, because it's so true, because it's not anybody's fault. People, but people go on, they have other jobs, they move on. They got to, they're shooting other things, editing other things, all this kind of stuff. But it is, really is kind of, at the end of the day, typically it's the director who's kind of sitting there going, okay, are we doing it right? Are we doing this? So all that to say, that's kind of just making sure that we're still promoting the movie as much as we can, making sure that like we're still trying to engage people on social media to bring about awareness of it. It's mostly that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's mostly just kind of like checking in, making sure that we're still kind of promoting it and we're doing some advertising, and then I'll kind of follow it as it does its kind of journey through the rest of the world. And if there's anything for me to do there, in the past, I haven't done a lot of press for other countries, but if there's any of that stuff to do, like it's kind of my baby, so I'll kind of just support it any way that I can. But it's now it's kind of at a place where, for so long it was like all day, every day, I'm just full-time confession. And now it's a place where you can kind of like, okay, a couple hours a day, you check on it, you make sure it's okay, make sure, and then, you know what I mean? It's more that kind of stuff, but
it's kind of a teenager now. You can kind of let it stay out past 10 o'clock. But
make sure it hasn't wrecked the car. Yeah.
Call and check in. All right, if something, just something happens, just let me know. I won't be mad.
Yeah. Just be honest.
Just be
I want
honest.
to hear it from you. You know?
I'd rather hear from you first, which I have to feel like is a lie. Like, I don't have kids, but I have to feel like that's just a lie. I mean,
Which part? I won't be mad.
and yeah, just be honest with me. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. My oldest is 8, so he's not at a point where he could do anything where my head would explode yet. You know,
Right,
but I
right.
feel like it's not too far off. You know.
Yeah, I feel like
It's
when my
2026. You never
Yeah.
know, right? I mean,
when my mother said
What
those
have
things to
access
me, I was like, you do not want the truth. Like, you just don't, right? I mean, and I don't even think like
You don't
now
want to
she
know.
doesn't
This
want
is the way I'm going to tell you.
right? Yeah. Even if you're like, no, but it's okay. I'm like, no, I don't want
Brock
to know
had a
the
very
truth.
Drew Barrymore growing up existence. So
Speaking
Studio 54 doing cocaine.
yeah,
as an
he
8-year-old
hosted SNL at the age of 5, so it was really weird.
yeah. with a
Oh
chimpanzee.
my god! I thought I recognized you. All right.
My hair's a little shorter now. So,
So are there any like dreams of like a physical media release for this one, or like do you ever like put that in your head, or is that a completely different beast, and how that all works?
Man, that's a great question. You know, I actually asked them. I asked Quiver, our distributor, and we didn't talk a lot about it, but we had a couple different offers on the movie, and some of them included a physical media release. Theirs didn't. But yeah, I think it's something I'd love to revisit it. I mean, we've the movie has been prepped to deliver to, places where you could do 4K, discs and everything. So. It's probably just on their end, probably just an expense thing to say, okay, is it worth us spending this? What will we make back? But I would love to do it. I would love to, and we have all kinds of great like behind the scenes stuff, and it'd be fun to do. Like as a obviously like a collector, like I'm sure you guys are. It'd be fun to have a 4K.
yeah. So speaking of behind the scenes things, can you?
And so, are there any other? I'm sorry, Brock.
No, go ahead.
I was just
Go
gonna ask
ahead.
if there are any like creative wise and film wise, what do you have other things lined up, or things you're going to be working on shortly, or in the near future, or
Yeah, so
that you can tell us about anyway.
Yeah. So I had so it was kind of funny when I finished The Confession. We shot it in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I was trying to fly back home for my daughter's first birthday. And I had this like horrible travel experience where I was trying to get from the Wilmington airport to Burbank, and the airline just wouldn't. They kept delaying it, and they wouldn't cancel the flight. But finally, the airline's like this. The lady's like, this flight isn't going out, and there's no flights for like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, I'm trying to get home for my daughter's birthday, and she's like, well, if there's a direct flight out of Raleigh in the morning. This is like at 11 o'clock at night. She's like, there's a direct flight out of Raleigh in the morning. If you go to Raleigh, we'll put you up in a hotel. So I found myself like on the backwoods highways of North Carolina with like 3 total strangers at midnight driving to this hotel. And as I'm getting in this car, I'm like, this just seems like a horror movie. This is like, horror. And then when I got to the hotel, this hotel just blew my mind. Like we pulled it into the hotel, and there was 2 cop cars. This is like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. There's 2 cop cars already in the parking lot, and there's like a group of dudes at the other end at like 2 a.m. just kind of hanging out. And I'm like, this is not great. This is anyway, and it kind of spiraled. It spiraled from there. So that sort of like that setup is like the first act of my next project, and then I took it in a different direction. But it was like I always say that like. I kind of got 2 movies out of North Carolina because we shot The Confession there, and then trying to get home, I had like another kind of horror story happen to me. So that's the next thing.
Oh, that sounds fun. I like that. I'm looking forward to that. No, I was gonna say, since you mentioned the behind the scenes things, can you sort of plug your cast for us, for the listeners, and talk about how great they were?
Yeah, we have Atalia Ritchie is the lead, who was in Designated Survivor. And it's just such a badass in the movie. She's so effortless. She's so natural. And then like when it's time to kind of like go crazy and do the genre stuff, she just like is amazing. And that was her favorite stuff to do, I think. And that was the stuff she was really excited about. And she's just so sarcastic and funny in real life that she's just really fun to watch in the movie. And then Zachary Gollinger plays her son, in the movie. He was in Barry. He was in like I think the third season of Barry, the last season, as Barry's kid, and he's just fantastic. And he just like he auditioned for it, and just immediately I just like that's the kid, like that's to do it, and he's great in it. And then Scott Meklowitz, who was in Mean Creek and Euro Trip. I think Euro Trip's like the thing people most know him from. And Scott, I had tried to cast Scott in my first movie, and he passed on it on Brotherhood, which I never let him forget about. And then he ended up doing Demonic with me, and as a friend, I knew Scott from before, so he's a friend as well. And he's just so natural and funny, but charismatic. And he's from Texas, so it just like I felt like it worked perfectly having him as the guy who stayed in his hometown when she kind of comes back. And then Terrence Rosemore, who plays Harley in the movie, who's in the new Superman movie, is in a bunch of James Gunn stuff, is also a friend of mine who I worked on Demonic with. And it's just like it was just fun. He's in the movie. He's this very like charismatic kind of preacher, who also kind of like isn't like a very traditional preacher. So it was just fun. I knew him. It was fun to see him do that stuff. And those are kind of the leads. But then we shot it in Carolina and had amazing people there. Ali McCulloch and Ron Falica and Justin Smith and Troy Rudizel. There's some amazing people out of Wilmington who you probably people probably recognize from. Troy was in the Black Phone. He was one of the detectives in the first Black Phone. But those folks have all been in a bunch of stuff that you know them from.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to
Hollywood
sit and talk to you guys for a little bit after Diff, and you were all so wonderful and forthcoming to talk about the film. So we're gonna, I think, push that episode back out at some point too, so that people can hear that. So, but yeah, Jason, awesome. Please.
Yeah, no, I was. So I wouldn't say this was Scott in the room, but like, just because it kind of sounds dickish in a way. But like, why do you think Hollywood sleeps on Scott? Because like, it seems like that guy should be like especially after Mean Creek. I just thought this guy was going to like explode.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I don't know because I cast him in everything I can. You know what I mean? So I don't know. He was. I remember seeing him in Mean Creek. He and Trevor Morgan, who Trevor actually ended up being in Brotherhood. I remember both of those guys just being like, "Oh my goodness, these guys are great." And then I remember walking in. I was at the Lemley in Santa Monica, and Peaceful Warrior was about to come out, and there was like the poster up. Excuse me. And in my head, I was like, because I had seen Mean Creek, I was like, oh, I discovered these guys. I had nothing to do with the movie. I had nothing to do with anything. I just thought they were great. It's like, oh, I discovered them. So when I saw the poster of like Peaceful Warrior and saw Scott is on the poster, I was like, ah, shit. Like I can't get him now. Like it's gonna be like it's done. That's I'm never gonna be able to work with this. He's blowing up. And he did. He was like, he was like he was one of those guys who was just like impossible to get. And then to answer your question, I don't know. I think I think part of it is probably like for Scott, quality of life and just you know what I mean. Just like he's got other things he's interested in.
Sure.
He's got a family. He loves doing that. But he's super talented, and I love watching him. So I'm gonna keep casting him. So
Yeah. As you should, as everyone should. We were talking as we've been kind of going through this Altman series. We've been talking about films, and we actually wondered if you had seen the film Images by Robert Altman.
I have not. I'm ashamed to say I haven't.
I know you're not alone because we don't think most people have. We think it's and I don't think, and we hadn't seen it until we started doing this. But you might check it out because I think I think it'd be right up your alley in sort of terms of sort of what it's doing and sort of it's a kind of horror film, right, Jason?
Okay.
I mean, it's a kind of psychological horror film, but it's a really interesting film in terms of his filmography. And this is how I make the connection between The Confession
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
California Split.
Well, but what's funny is the like hearing you say Altman did a horror film, like you kind of like that, like I'm immediately interested in that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be this kind of like understated but very lived in, like psychological 70s. I mean, like who wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah.
Like that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a trip.
Yeah,
So
it gets compared to Don't Look Now a lot, and I think it would have probably had a Don't Look Now type of, you know, history had it not been just completely killed by the studios. Like the studios didn't believe in it, and killed it on theatrical release. And but yeah, it's got a very similar feel. Persona is another one that it gets compared to quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was reading up a little bit about just kind of like dusting off, the cobwebs about Altman to get ready to talk to you guys. He made what, 12 movies in the 70s?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or 14. Was it 12 or 14? I can't remember, but it's like more than there were years.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It was, let's see. We've got 1, 2,
So
3, 4,
between 70 and 79, he did 13.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 13 movies. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
is-
like in this, so his first year he did Brewster McCloud. MASH and Brewster McCloud come out the same year, and then this year that when we talk about California Split, Thieves Like Us also comes out, and then in '79 he has Quintet and Perfect Couple too. I mean, but yeah, he doesn't stop making movies.
Nope.
I mean, it's just he's full tilt this entire decade for sure.
He's kind of like the Soderbergh of
New
his era.
Hollywood,
And it's also like, if you make 13 movies in a decade, like you may as well make a horror film. You may as well try every genre. I mean, like,
Right. I mean, because he wasn't going to let really anybody stop him from doing kind of what he wanted to do anyway. So.
Yeah.
Right. He's got a war film. He's got a Western. He's got a horror. He's got a kind of a genre film noir. And then his sprawling epic of Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crazy decade. I can't think of anybody else who had this being this prolific.
No.
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially in that studio system, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's different for I think for someone like Soderbergh who has kind of this mentality of I'll just do it myself and not going to worry about what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
But having to kind of work with who he worked with and in the studio system that he worked within, it's just insane.
Yeah, and still getting them made and getting Columbia to pay for this one and whoever to pay for this one, and
Right.
it's crazy.
So let's go ahead and get into California Split. And Will, on this show, I always read just the IMDb log line, like verbatim for each film, just to see how accurate it is. So
Wait, before we do that, we should read
okay.
that. We should do it for the confession just to see if Will thinks that it's a good.
The one that's up there is probably the press release, which I probably wrote, but let's see.
Yeah, I was going to say, I looked at it earlier, and I thought it was pretty accurate. So, the confession. A musician returns to her childhood home and finds her late father's recorded murder confession made to ward off an evil force. As her son's behavior grows disturbing, she fights to end the darkness.
It's pretty accurate. It's actually not what I wrote, but it is pretty accurate. It's kind of a variation of the original one.
It's pretty accurate. And we've read some that were like, that's not the movie that we saw, like at all. Like so they're pretty
A
interesting.
young boy returning from war is.
Right. And I'm like, wait, it was full of Smurfs. I don't understand. Like, how did that? Like, all right. So
It's not in this.
here's California Split from 1974. When casual gambler Bill Denny befriends professional gambler Charlie Walters, Bill begins to mirror Charlie's life, sinking deeper and deeper into the sleazy world of gambling where the stakes keep getting bigger. That feels a little melodramatic, but I mean, yeah. It
seems like it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I knew what movie you're talking about.
Yeah. No, right. It's. Well, I have a question for both of you, about this film. What does the Spielberg version of this look like?
I mean, I think right? I mean, I think it looks. Look, it's bombastic to the end. In fact, there's a really good article on the LA Book Review written back in 2008. If you go out to the Wikipedia for this, you can actually get to it, and it's they sit down with Walsh and Seagal and Gould and kind of talk through this film. And he talks about like that part 3 talks about how Spielberg was like, oh, that last sequence is like a 32-minute orgasm, and I would have filmed the entire thing. Like, and I think one, like Spielberg, I can't imagine how you, and look, it's far be it from me to denigrate Spielberg, right?
Right.
But like, I don't know how you sit down with a gambling addict who this is his only script, right? Who's penned this because he's not happy with the acting jobs that he's getting, puts his blood and life on the line, on page here, right? How you film a film that is about male friendships, but also like again tangentially about gambling addiction, and then ramp up the excitement of the gamble, right? The idea that Gould can't take part in this for the last 32 minutes of the film, or whatever it is. I don't think it's that long in the Altman version. Is the point, right? I mean, like, so to have all of that ramped up and to have them like walk out hand in hand, counting their cash, I think is the exactly wrong take on this. And I think it probably would have spoken to Spielberg's sensibilities, especially early in his career. And I don't think he leaves this film looking like where these two guys leave one another. And I think you clean up everything. I mean, like as much as Spielberg was a great auteur, in the 70s, I think that a lot of it just gets to be cleaned up. I don't think that Gould, I think everything gets explained, right? Everything is focused on those two men, and you don't get the flavor of the people around him. Although as good as Spielberg was when doing Jaws, and I mean, like in having the townsfolk, I do think that we lose a lot of those bits and pieces that make this film so amazing and so great. But I'll let Will chime in as well. So sorry, we got a guest. I'll let.
No. I mean, my mind immediately went to the ending. And I had forgot when you asked the question at first. I was thinking I had forgotten that Spielberg I've read that he developed this.
Yep.
For 9 months or something.
Yeah. He worked with Walsh like back and forth on that script for a long time. Yeah.
Which like it would have been like. It'd be fascinating to see that movie because my brain first went to Spielberg now. What is Spielberg now? What's that movie look like? But to see Spielberg then in the 70s during Sugarland Express era, Jaws, and like it would be really fascinating to see that. Certainly the ending. You wonder if he would stick with that ending. Because the ending to me is like, I mean, it's kind of, people talk about the ending is kind of. The punchline of the movie. It's kind of the point of the movie. Like most movies, the ending is the point. You know what I mean? It's the theme. It's the most important part. So, the ending was. I thought the ending was incredibly powerful. I'd never seen California Split before. I thought the ending was incredibly powerful. They get to the end, and this guy's been chasing this thing, and then he's completely sort of bereft of meaning for him or enjoyment. Or I was like, wow, that just seems so true to life. You know what I mean? And I think I love Spielberg, but it does seem, especially like the last 20 or 30 years, it's more like a little bit more of a happy ending, a little bit more of like, kind of go out a little more upbeat. So it'd be interesting to see if he would keep that. But that ending was just like, wow. And so just so insightful. The ending, like, that the guy's a gambling addict because of the ending. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't have written that. You had to like have lived that experience to write something that's sort of true to it.
And this, I think, is an interesting point that you bring up. Walsh was a gambling addict and wrote this script because he's like, nobody writes good gambling movies, and he wanted to be the guy. He wanted to be the guy that when other gamblers watched this film, they went, yeah, he got straight to our soul, right? He wanted to be that guy, but also. Altman was a recovering gambling addict himself. And Altman said of himself that he was like, there's a time in my life where I could spend easily 2 days at a crap table, right? And just keep playing. And Gould also had issues with gambling. And part of this, like these two people, this is part of Walsh and Gould, like their actual story, right? Where Walsh was more like Charlie and Gould was more like Seagal. But I mean, but Gould in an interview at one point said, if it wasn't gambling, it was drugs. And he's like, my problem wasn't with drugs or gambling. My problem was with reality, right? Which is true with most addicts, right? It's not, we're turning to booze and drugs and gambling because we have this other issue or other issues that we don't know how to deal with. And so this is the way to sort of stem that. So you have like this kind of confluence of people with a similar mindset to then come in and make this film, seem so much more real than I think. I mean, I don't know. What are the best gambling movies out there?
I mean, Vegas Vacation obviously comes to mind.
Yeah, and what was the one with Will?
Can we pause for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, you can cut it.
No, it's fine. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Read my door. Just let me go grab this.
Yeah, of course. Like he thinks we're like some kind of formal, so like,
right?
Like, yeah. Take your time. We'll just sit here. I'm in the middle of a professional recording. What is going on?
All the things I want to say, we'll get to in a second. I don't want to lose them, which is fine. It's fine.
So the sound is better. You haven't cut out yet.
I just rebooted. I went, like I said, I went back to my settings here, and I'm back to the other Focusrite.
Okay.
I'll get yours figured out. I just
I was
yeah.
just I didn't know what you had or were
using,
so I was just yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. There's a break-in across the street, and the insurance guy would not stop ringing my doorbell.
Oh, gotcha. Look, Will, most episodes, my dog makes an appearance, like whether it's barking or her giant head coming up into the screen. So. Yeah, don't.
Cool, yeah.
Don't worry about
it. Cut out the quick.
Yeah, we'll cut. Yeah. No, yeah, we'll cut it out. Jason, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, I was saying Vegas Vacation, obviously,
Yes.
because that makes the most sense. Put in $1, win a car. Put in $1, win a car. People sleep on that movie. It's not as bad as people think. Cincinnati Kid. The Hustler's not really about gambling per se.
Neither is this. Look, here's the thing. I think this is.
But I think it shows more.
We'll get to that,
it shows more gambling than most of these films.
Sure.
Right?
But I think this is a love story between these two guys,
course.
right? It's a love story kind of told through gambling. But so is the Hustler. The Hustler's like this character study of Paul Newman of a Fast Eddie. But all we do is see him play pool.
Right. Right. Yeah. Agreed. I think if you want to get to the heart, to the true core of gambling film, things like owning Mahoney, is probably
Hard 8.
Hard. Yeah. I don't know. Casino's not really. It kind of shows you the back end side of it all. But yeah. It's hard to do this right. I think, and I think it's like one of the films that's kind of cheeseball in its sensibilities, but people love so much is Rounders, because it shows, and it really kind of kicked off the. I don't know if it necessarily kicked off the love of Texas Hold'em, but it certainly coincided if it didn't.
Well, I think it led to a resurgence of it because Amarillo Slim, right, and Doyle Brunson were, two who really brought Hold'em to the fore, in the 70s, around the time of this film.
Right, but it's but until Rounders comes about, and until it starts to get online, and you start to have everyday Joes kind of start to be able to play with the kings of the sport, that's when purses go up significantly, when someone like Chris Moneymaker wins the tournament, and then everybody and their dog thinks that they can play poker at that point. So
this is true.
But yeah, go ahead.
Do you think we're talking about is it a gambling movie or is it a love story? To me, would they would these guys have been? Would there be a love story without the gambling?
No, no,
You know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I think to me, it's just a man searching for, basically searching for his soul. I think for me, it's Seagal's picture, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
in a sense of like he's a reporter who's gotten like caught up in this life, clearly searching for something. He doesn't like, and everything to him is intriguing. The Gould, and especially when he sees Gould and kind of like he comes into the the opening sequence and they come into the card table, and he's not enjoying himself. He's just dealing. He's not even really enjoying the banter that Gould is like laying down, but he also only ever wins when Gould is around, and he's clearly gotten himself in a huge amount of debt. So I think the reason he sticks around initially is because one, he's a reporter and he has that kind of natural curiosity instinct, but also he sees his luck change. And then when Gould's not around, like when he goes to the massage parlor and tries to win money, he loses again. He loses his bankroll, and they tell him the next time, come back next time, maybe you'll take us all down.
This is
sorry, Rick,
no, because this is one of the reasons why I think it really is, a love story told through a gambling picture. With some of the things you just said, Jason, there is that moment when they're first at the table. We don't really see them interact, but we hear right how the other players have seen them interact. So we get Lou, who gets mad. He's like, they've been grinning and smiling at each other all night, and so we get this like these other people see them kind of reacting to each other without them even know it, right? So Lou knows that they're going to be best friends before they even know.
He sees the chemistry.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when Gould goes off to Tijuana without Bill freaks out, right? He's like, my new girlfriend just left, right, for a weekend, and I don't know where she is. And I mean, but it's that kind of it's a strange kind of like, toxic relationship where they're soulmates who at the end clearly know that they shouldn't be together. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
But I think
bring out each other's worst sort of like not only tendencies but like addictions.
Right. They are just enabling each other throughout.
Yeah.
But do you think Gould falls in love? I think Gould is just as
much as he
fly
can
by the seat of his pants kind of guy, though, right? I think he's cool with whomever comes in and out of his life. He's cool as long as the ride is good, and the thrill is there. Like, I mean, he pops off to Tijuana for at a moment's notice, and then at the end of the movie, right? He doesn't he's not upset by. He understands, Seagal's leaving. He's
but
like,
that's
look,
real
man,
love. That's real love, Jason. That is real love.
See, that was my thought too, because Seagal's like, downtrodden when he leaves. And then when Gould just starts packing up his money, he's whistling. You know what I mean? It just seemed to me Gould is like he's kind of the good time guy that's like, you win some, you lose some. He's that's my take is like, maybe I don't know. Love seems too strong a word for Gould.
I also think Gould. I also think like Gould is the consummate gambler in this film, right? I think what we see at the end is that Bill is a better player, but Gould is the better gambler, because Gould just sees money as a way to keep score. That's it, right?
Yeah.
It's not a real thing. It's just like, oh, hey, I won today. Oh, I lost today. I won today, right? He doesn't care about the money, but it's a way to keep score, and that's it. And so, like, he will just gamble and gamble and gamble and gamble and gamble, and he'll never stop, right? Because it's just how his life is. But Jason, like you said, Seagal is looking for something, and he's trying to find it through this other thing, and then he realizes, well, fuck, it's not there, right?
Right. Well, I think he realizes he can't be that guy that he like. It's this idea of whatever he sees in Gould, right? It's this idea of like, oh, I'm in this world, right? Why shouldn't I be that guy? And trying to find the joy in it and thinking that the joy is only in winning. Because I mean, at the beginning, right, they're at the racetrack. And when their horses come in and Gould's not even waiting on the photo finish, and he's like, it's like you're counting your chickens before they hatch. Yeah. He's like, what chickens? We're talking about chickens here. We won. It's like, and then when he gets excited about him winning, he's like, yeah, I told you, we won already. But this idea of like him trying to find, himself in this and trying to, I think that's, for me, that was where Seagal was. It was like, and then realizing that after winning 82,000, that even then it doesn't matter to him. Like he's so robotic when he's gambling at the end, like was just throwing, there's no joy in it until he's back with Gould at the craps table and they're all around, and they're enjoying the game again. But about the money, it didn't. Once it was over, once he crapped out, it didn't. He realized that he was never going to be that guy. And yeah, I think it's and the harsh truth of the movie, and I guess the real question about it would even after that, would you be able to walk away? But I think Seagal. I think they do a nice job. Altman in the script does a great job of setting the up. Bill's he's the only one who's ever in trouble, right? He's got bookies coming after him. He's got people that are willing to harm him. He's the one who has to like hawk and all of his things, sell his car. Yeah. But man, I think both of these guys are so amazing in this.
He's the only one you see consequences for. You know what I mean? Like he's like, and you really feel the desperation. When he's, when he's, the morning when he's at breakfast. You know what I mean? It's like you really feel this guy's desperation in a way that Gould feels like, and they're both great in the movie, and Seagal's like astonishingly good in it. And that's another thing. But Gould is kind of Gould. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's great and he's fun and you want to hang out with him, and his one-liners are great. But he's got that devil may care attitude. But you've seen him do that before, and he's cool, and nothing's really going to touch him. Whereas, Seagal's like really, you see the consequences of his decisions, and you see the consequences of owing what he owes.
Well, that first morning when he goes home after the card game, and he goes home with Gould, right? And and he's like been promised a breakfast, right? And he goes into this like shitty apartment with two prostitutes, and the breakfast is Fruit Loops with Lucky Charms, and then the Fruit Loops get poured. He's got to use a dirty spoon. the woman who like puts her hand over the milk in the cereal. I love that. Like his progression is so amazing. And Altman, I mean, this is obviously an Altman trait, but like making this world feel so ridiculously real.
Yeah.
And like there's like it. And to a point where it's effortless, right? I mean, I'm sure that he's meticulous, but like everything down to when Gould walks away, like I'm gonna go get some rest, and he flips that blind down on his door. I thought that scene was so awesome because it just like so perfectly just snaps and like he's gone, and Seagal's left there to like go find himself, find a place on the couch where he's sleeping on top of the TV guide. All those moments are like, it feels like in any other filmmaker's film, like none of that would exist. We would be so readily noticeable that these were set pieces, or that this was a set that we were on, rather than this feels like like we walked into Gould's actual apartment.
No, for sure. And I mean, it starts like it's like that the very first scene. I remember watching it and looking at the costumes. And like so many movies, you're so aware of these are costumes. There's somebody who's the head of the department who picked out all these things for all these people, and then the director approved it. But you're watching this movie, you're like, this just looks like, it's the casting choices of all these people at the table. They're so kind of like specific, and the way the lady kind of like talks shit, and then just the way they're dressed, it just all. It feels it's almost like it's such a cliche to say you're watching a documentary, but like that's how it feels. Like the details and the reality of the world, like it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a movie. It doesn't feel like there's like the artifice of, a movie.
Well, so many of these extras, so many of the card players were actually like gambling addicts. So that Altman had found. And then, I mean, this is something else that Altman does in these other films too, where like the opening credits of this film is someone explaining how to play poker. I mean, so like we're already kind of enmeshed in this world, and it's the video that Gould is watching before he goes to play. So it's such like these like small things, like these small kind of craft things of making this film that Altman uses to really kind of plant us in this real world, right? He really locates us in a different world. And like, yeah, I mean, just the small details that he gives us. That house was an actual house, Jason. Like the house. That,
of course.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, but I don't know whose it was, but like the opening game room was a set. The house was someone's house that they used, and then other things. He just kind of like would plan things out really well for like the horse race, but then he'd let other things just kind of like go and like let them sort of improv to see what happened. So it was a real like mix of meticulous planning and let's keep going. Let's see what goes on here.
And like spontaneity. Yeah.
Yeah. Like so like
I think you feel that. I think that stuff comes across and it's not so like there's not somebody holding on and you got to get every punctuation of the dialogue right and you feel that it breathes.
Yeah,
you know?
the Seven Dwarves scene was completely made up by those two, like on the spot.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And apparently they shot this movie mostly in continuity. So, so that the Seven Dwarves bit kind of comes back later, right? And it makes sense.
Funny. But like, hey, we did this thing, let's bring it back.
Yeah.
I was reading something where it said that this may have just been on IMDb, but that Siegel felt a little like smothered and he was a little worried.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think I read that before I saw the movie, because when I was watching it, I was like, this performance does not read like that at all. I mean, he is it's so his own, and he's so unique, and he's so like his choices are so. One guy could have done that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And he feels so kind of comfortable. You know, I was surprising to read that he was in any way sort of worried.
Yeah.
You know.
I know, and I mean, I think because I read the same thing where he would just felt like, I mean, like Gould was kind of like too big or too kind of like, and also like maybe too sure of sort of what he was doing and the kind of like lack of confidence from Siegel. And so can we talk about this now? Why did he not have a bigger career?
Siegel?
Yeah.
Siegel?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's step back for a second because I want to. I think this is a bigger picture.
Yeah.
A question I want to ask, like, because when you talk about film history, and I won't. Well, I'm just going to let you know I'm going to ramble a bit. And I'm not going to phrase this properly, and it's going to be a little disjointed. But when we talk about film history, we talk about like Bergman, Fellini, Romer. Like there's people that are like that study those schools of directors. Do we feel like the 70s as a whole is kind of, because we kind of lost critical, like real world like film criticism, like that the 70s is getting lost in a sense? Because if you look at Siegel's like career, it's not like he didn't act, right? I mean, like he was pretty prolific himself in the 70s. I mean, like he had a Ragtime album, for Christ's sakes. I mean, he's not a banjo player. It's not like he didn't do things, but I think, like, if you look back at his films, like we just don't. These films don't exist really anymore, at least especially in the conversation. So I mean, like, was it a matter of Seagal? I guess the question for me is, was it a matter of Seagal not having a bigger career, or we've just forgotten the career that he had? Because I think the same thing exists with Gould.
It does.
Right? I think Gould kind of pops up occasionally because he's had some iconic roles, and of course but I mean, like, you know, he was in Friends, but Seagal was in, Just Shoot Me. He had a career.
This is what I know him from. That's what I knew him from.
See, so this is kind of, but this is kind of my point, that I think a lot of people know both of these guys from their TV roles. Like in like one particular TV role, where I think there's a whole generation that knows Elliot Gould as Ross and Rachel's dad on Friends.
Yeah.
And Jason, I agree. I mean, like Seagal was like this huge leading man in the 70s, and then kind of like Gould in the 80s, he just kind of like took smaller and smaller roles. And so, I think they both had really good careers. I don't mean that, but like we don't really talk about these guys, I think, in the same vein as we do some of their other maybe contemporaries.
Is it also too, like, if you're talking about film history and the three filmmakers you named are these are sort of like these are titans, you know? I feel like the more we go along, the more actors and filmmakers join that list, and it kind of edges people a little bit further down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, if you look at the 70s filmmakers, you know, who are like your top 5 or 10 70s guys, you know? Like Altman's on the list, Scorsese's on the list, Spielberg's on the list. But at a certain point, you know, like people who should be on the list probably get edged down. Where's Hal Ashby on the list?
Yeah.
You know, is he top 5? Because he made some amazing movies in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I think that's kind of it. It's like, and Gould, like, he wasn't, you know, who are the biggest stars of the, you know, biggest stars of that time? You know, if you're not like a top 3 or top 5 kind of guy,
It would have
you're
been
gonna
McQueen, Redford,
Yeah.
Newman. Newman. Yeah, I mean, like those guys that were
Stallone.
the guys that were like up for the guys that were up for everything that that would eventually then fall to Seagal and to Gould when those passed. Like so in this case, where this would have been McQueen's opportunity to take this role, and then
and that's what
and
happened.
eventually it falls to
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Queen was attached at some point, and so was Dean Martin.
right.
Yeah.
I always hear about those stories, and you're like, if you're a filmmaker and you're like, I had the biggest movie star in the world, and we didn't get to make it with him. You know, I mean, in this incident, it worked out great because you got the right guy.
Yeah.
But you're like, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, McQueen would have been in a completely different picture, right? And Martin was going to be like when MGM had it, I believe they were going to make it into like an actual plot there was like a mobster influence where that's where Dean Martin was going to come into play. So it was a completely different script, and Walsh was at that point he's the one who walked away from it as well,
right? And
he was pretty apprehensive because Altman was pretty notorious about taking over and kind of running roughshod over screenwriters. But I think in this case they worked pretty well together.
Yeah,
the story with MASH is that he won best screenplay, and like only like there's like one sentence or one line of dialogue with the original. He was pissed and he won. He was like, it's not so bad.
But yeah, I mean, there was some talk that Walsh and Altman would get into arguments and then kind of come to an agreement. So it sounds like they somehow worked okay, or well enough together. But I mean, this is, you watch it and it is everything an Altman film is, right? There's no real set narrative structure. It's like everything's kind of like these little scenes and vignettes, and maybe there's like a narrative structure within those scenes, but there's no overall like Freytag's pyramid structure to this film at all, right? And I don't even know if the ending has a denouement or if it's just the ending, right? And then the same thing with all the overlapping dialogue and how Altman lets some of those side conversations just take center stage, like when the dancer at the bar and her mother are arguing because the mother wants her to lend her money. I mean, that's just happening in the background, and then next thing you know, it's like we're focused on that. We're like these voyeurs that are just sort of like eavesdropping on this conversation before we like go back to our main characters. But those side conversations are so devastating and so sort of informative to what world we're in. So even if Walsh and Altman worked well together, this still has so much of like Altman's fingerprints just all over it.
Well, it's also, I mean, I feel like you to see like a great writer who wrote a screenplay like this, and they have a vision, and you have a guy like Altman who clearly has a strong vision, and to see them kind of go in a new direction together. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's so kind of exciting. I feel like if you were a part of that production, that would have been the really exciting part to see that thing come to life,
Unless you're the Columbia executive that Altman punched.
It's a different time.
Well, and
I know you could do that.
And Altman was pretty notorious, like for being a guy who was like, if you told him he needed to do something, he was absolutely not going to do that thing.
Yeah.
There's a sequence in this film where I think that was filmed where Siegel and Gould are in a car together, and Siegel's like increasingly getting agitated and more reckless, and he's like driving down a street, kind of running all the red lights. And Altman didn't want to put it in; he didn't like the sequence. But everybody from the studio heads to like the actors, to like they wanted it in. They were like, "We'll budget it in. We love this sequence. We need it in." And then when they did the dailies on it, they were like, yeah, this is bullshit. Because basically Altman was like, whatever. He didn't film it. He didn't film it the right way. He didn't give a shit about it. Like he was like, I'm gonna film it because they told me to do it. But like,
Right. He's
it's
like
gonna
a
look
pretty
like
hard.
shit, and we're not adding it to the film. But
That's funny.
That's
He just
great.
sort of like was
But
so like, whatever. Roll the camera. We'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
yeah,
like-
fine. Yeah. No, don't turn the lights on.
right. Right. But yeah, I mean, I guess to our point, like, I mean, who's watching Paul Mazursky films these days, or Sidney Lumet
Yeah.
films, or Arthur Hiller, or like you said, or Hal Ashby? I mean, like, how do we get those guys back into the limelight outside of having this stupid ass podcast play up in some sort of sense?
Right.
Well, I feel like Lumet is one of the guys. I feel like Lumet's kind of up. He's still, I feel like, very much just because he made so many classic movies. I think the other guys from the '70s that we're talking about, aren't as much. And that's a great question. I don't.
Yeah. I like films like this where leading men could be handsome in a non-conventional way, and everyone's sweaty.
Yeah.
Right, everyone's sweaty and horny, basically, which we just don't see enough in movies now.
Well, it's a great scene. It's so funny when they take their shirts off.
Yeah.
He's doing the shaving cream.
Yes, yeah.
And you're like, these guys would have 6-packs today.
Right.
And they got bellies, and you're like, that's a man. That's what I feel represented on screen now. I feel represented on screen.
That's a man. That's a man, right?
Yeah, that's what a man should look like.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just such a different. Yeah, it's like they're not like all ripped.
Right.
You're like, okay.
And nobody has a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point in Elliot Gould's life where he ever lifted weights. He didn't go to the gym.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing.
Right.
No. Barbara
that's
Streisand would
what's so-
never make him go to the gym.
But that's what's so great about it too, though, is that like he's got that attitude, and it doesn't bother him, and he's having so much fun, and it makes you want to have fun. Like kind of in all of his performances.
Oh yeah.
But,
Yeah. I mean, you really do want to hang out with kind of both of these two guys, but especially Gould.
Yeah.
Now, did either of you read the screenplay for the Penn sequel?
Oh no.
Oh, so Walsh wrote a sequel called Lunch with Charlie and Bill, or Lunch with Bill and Charlie. It's kind of his own, like, My Dinner with Andre, and it's just after Siegel died. He kind of gave up hope of getting it made, and so he just released it on his own website. Just put the screenplay out there. It's just the two of them having lunch and talking the entire time.
For how long? For like 100 pages?
71 pages. And so, but I don't know, like, we don't know how long time has passed right now. I mean, I know the screenplay is in 2021, but all we get is like that these two guys are no spring chickens, right? In the script. But they mention Uber, they mention cell phones. They start talking about, like, basically it's them coming back together and talking about what happened after Reno, right? So at the end of this, Bill's like, so what did you do? Where did you go? He goes, oh, I went to, the Mustang Ranch and I got married. So, we get a lot of, like, strange things revealed. So it turns out Charlie had a son who died when he was 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
It turns out that Bill almost gave all of his winnings to a homeless person on his way out of the casino. So it's an interesting read. I will say that the dialogue, you can hear these two characters in the dialogue, right? You can see those two guys sort of talking and saying, this dialogue. Now, I mean, the sort of plot points, I'm not so sure. But and if it's if it's meant to be like real time, they'd be like 80 at least.
Yeah.
So it's a little strange in that part. But yeah. So it was an interesting read. There's your homework.
That's interesting. And it's all dinner. They're just at a table the whole time?
Yeah, they're like at a diner. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it goes on. You talked earlier about how this kind of had that documentary feel. And I mean, this is something else that I really love about Altman's films, is that kind of like slow zoom floating camera that just kind of like takes us through
Yeah.
these spaces. And I think especially this film where, you know, in that opening sequence, it does feel like we're just kind of this fly on the wall, just kind of watching this stuff and just being kind of objectively shown, right, what this world is.
Yeah, for sure. The yeah, it's cool because it's like you feel like it's almost like the camera's looking for a place to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like if you take like the opposite is like a genre filmmaker like a Hitchcock or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm building this sequence with these shots and it's very intricate and it's just a whole different thing and I love them both. They're both great.
Of course, yeah.
But with Altman, it's like you're kind of he's just kind of like I think it takes balls to have that patience, to not force it and to let it breathe and to let it take its time. But yeah, no, it just I feel all of it. I mean, like you talked about like the sound earlier and letting a conversation from here take over kind of like all those things, just like the how organic it is it's pretty kind of remarkable that he had the guts to do it,
And not be afraid to kind of have these things fail in a sense, right? Because I know like some of the reviews about this film are like, oh, well, like the sound is too garbled and you just can't hear anything, and I'm like, that might be the point, right? And in some of these scenes is to just have this like cacophony and not really understand like who's talking about what because there's just so much noise in the world. But I mean, he just never cared. He just kept on doing that, and I think it became his signature. But I think something that a lot of us really, really respect and really enjoy about his films. Even if they can.
Well, and that was one of the things he was like. It was kind of like groundbreaking, right? Was the overlapping dialogue, and did I read this is the first film that had like 8 tracks of sound?
Yeah, it wasn't like Cinerama. Yeah.
So, I mean he's sort of he's experimenting with things for a desired result. And it seemed like so much of his was I'm experimenting with it to bring life to it and make it like bring it to life and make it feel organic in a way that. It doesn't feel like canned and
and it goes along with that idea of atmosphere over plot, right? Or feelings over thought, right? It's so much truer that way than something that feels so kind of staged and like meticulous, right? And even the things that are meticulously staged in his films don't feel it, right? We're able to kind of like go on with that. It's coming back on. His power is coming back on. Texas is not great with power. I don't know if
this time of year when snow starts to hit, it gets tricky.
Yeah. What did you think about the 2 female characters, the 2 sex workers that lived with Charlie?
I mean, the thing that man, that's tough.
Good.
Well, it's just such a like the thing that was that always struck me was it seemed like such a like it seemed like so like it's like I grew up in a family. It seemed like this movie was all about these guys living almost like a boy growing up and like his idealized version of what life would be like as an adult, not having to be in a family. You know what I mean? Living with 2 prostitutes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the way it struck me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I'm gonna go on these adventures with my best friend, and it's never gonna end, and we're gonna double down, and we're gonna bet on basketball and boxing and horse racing, and you know what I mean.
And we're gonna go play cards.
It's like an adolescent kind of dream fantasy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a way.
Yeah.
With the reality of it too, which is like the cool part.
Yeah.
There's still consequences. But
yeah, no, that's a good way. I mean, I think to look at that these are just 2 like man children, right? I mean, They don't want to grow up. They've never grown up. Bill is a little more grown up, but even then, all he does is like dodge his boss and try to like get out of work. But yeah, even though Bill's a little more grown up, he's still just trying to like do the things that we would do as boys, right? Try to get out of our like chores or get out of our job to go have more adventures. And
just avoiding Jeff Goldblum.
Which I love. I love the early Jeff Goldblum. Have you guys seen Between the Lines, the Joan Micklin Silver film? So Joan Micklin Silver is someone who doesn't get enough credit either, but John Hurt is in it, and Jeff Gold. It's like 1977, and it's about like an independent newspaper, kind of like an alternative weekly that's getting bought by like a bigger business. But Goldblum plays a photographer, I think. Anyway, it just kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, but like very early Jeff Goldblum. So I was going to say, like, back to the female character, back to the women characters. The one thing I do like is that Altman seems to have this kind of love for people on the edge of society. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a way that somebody now like Sean Baker might have, but I think Altman, treats them with a little more kind of like humor, or a different kind of humor. But I mean, to that, I love that he shows us these women like, picking them up from jail or reading the TV guide or stringing Christmas lights right on the outside tree. Just these kind of like slice of life moments, and it's not just wrapped up in being a prostitute, I guess is what I mean. So I mean, I really did like that, but yeah, it's like Gould is like, hey, you know what would be cool if I got to live with like two hookers when I got older, right? Right? Yeah.
But to your point though, it is cool to see like. It's like, no matter what you do in life, like you're people still string, like they gotta look for they watch TV. Yeah. How do they figure out what they want to watch? It's like, it's the normal stuff that everybody does. Like we're not so different. Someone may have a lifestyle or a occupation that's not the traditional path, but like they're not aliens. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
Humanizing.
Right.
I think in all his films. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, none of his films are about normal people, are they?
Yeah.
I mean, even something like Gosford Park focuses on, more of, like, the servant class than it does.
Yeah, the backroom, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Nashville. Even the sort of, like, straight people in Nashville are kind of drawn into... the seedier elements or the more, kind of on the periphery kind of world,
Yeah. And again, like there never seems like there's much, if any, judgment on that. He just kind of, and I think that's part, I mean, due to his visual style of being able to kind of maintain that sort of floating objective camera that's just kind of like itself looking for a place to fit in almost.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Gwen Wells, who plays the younger of the two, is that Barbara or Susan? I forget the names. Which one's Susan? But she died really young, like 41 or 43. Really? Yeah, from cancer. But she was married to Harris Yulin, which just I think is interesting. But then she was she had a role in Nashville as well. But just never. I think she got. I don't know how long she battled with cancer, but died really young. And then another woman, the woman who was one of the blackjack dealers in the casino in Reno, whose name was Susan, I think had like an embolism or something on set and died on set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so like at the end, like, in the credits, I think it says something like "This is for Susan" or whatever. I think it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and that was the story.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. I know. There was like weird stuff that went on with that film, but just a lot of like, and Ann Prentice is great. I mean, I think they're really good in those roles, like regardless of sort of how, they're viewed or maybe seen as well.
Yeah. Well, also too, I feel like back then there weren't as many probably roles for women. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like they're getting to do interesting stuff. they're bringing things to it.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just love how Gwen Wells' character just like wants to be loved. Like he didn't really like me, right? Do you think he really liked me? It's just that constant kind of like, yeah.
But I think that scene. I'm sorry, I keep dropping in and out. But I think that scene is like kind of speaks to what I clearly missed you guys saying which is that it gives those women agency and heart, and it goes beyond. Again, like these are. It's so easy to paint with a broad stroke, and I apologize if you guys have already said all this shit, but like, it's so easy to paint with a broad stroke, these, especially then, because like, if you look at like, and what I mean by then is like the 70s, because you look at like what, Goldblum is doing right before this is he's playing a rapist in Death Wish, right? I mean, like there's these like really like, stereotypical views of these people that we dismiss for no reason. And I think, no one was doing this. I mean, and McCabe and Mrs. Miller, he does the same thing, but like he gives kind of like real life views to these prostitutes. But like having her want a handsome guy that comes into her apartment and to kind of feel something, for them to have like genuine moments of joy when they're kind of like running a scam on Helen, and like just wanting to go out to a Mexican food restaurant and then go to a fight. I think that's one of the things that really like what Altman brings, and I think you'd see it like even more as he start to get to something like Nashville or the Shortcuts, where he's showing real life. It's not just about like the set pieces, like I said before, just about like where this feels real. These feel like real people, and these feel like evolved characters, even if there's no character evolution for them, at all within the script.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I feel like too. I mean, I feel like at the end, I mean, you talked about like it's more Siegel's movie. I feel like that too. I feel like, and I do feel like Siegel does evolve. You know what I mean? I feel like Siegel at the end of the movie, it's like it's an interior. You know what I mean? It's not an exterior plot, but I do think there's a plot. But I think it's just interior. It's his change. He's leaving the movie different than he started the movie.
Yeah.
What I don't think he's any happier though, right? I mean, I think he's still lost, right? I mean, I think this idea of like he's still trying to find himself, and I think maybe that's part of like why he's a reporter. In a sense of, he dabbled in this world and got, was really, really bad at it. I think the idea is like, he's going to continue to head down this path of like, he evolves and he realizes he's not these people, but also at a certain point, he also just kind of starts back to where he was. He's whole now, right? He doesn't owe anybody any money, but he also doesn't really truly know any more about himself other than he doesn't find the life that Gould leads all that intriguing.
Yeah, or think he's gonna find fulfillment there.
Right.
Right.
In Walsh's sequel script, Bill has written a book that has been both commercially and critically successful. The book is about that experience, right, in Reno and with Charlie. So, yeah, and so part of the conversation that he's having with Charlie at the diner is that he's got to write another book and he needs to sit down with Charlie and have this conversation.
We need to do something crazy so I have more material.
Yeah. So I think, Jason, this is interesting where it's like, he's not really fulfilled, but like something else has come out of this. What I think is really interesting is that there's no bottom, right? He doesn't hit rock bottom. I mean, he goes out on top, right? I mean, and think about like almost any addiction film or story you've heard, there's always a bottom somewhere, but we never there's no bottom here.
I mean, this ends up like The Hustler in a lot of ways. Sorry, Will.
No. I was real quick. I was saying it reminds me of like Altman's big influence on P.T. Anderson, and the ending reminds me of a P.T. Anderson movie because it's like the happiest sad ending you can think of, or the saddest happy. You know what I mean? It's that juxtaposition. It's like he wins, we win. You know what I mean? It's you're going on a high, but it doesn't feel like a high. Right. It's like the happy sad, juxtaposition that that you feel, I think.
Yeah.
I apologize. I actually need to run here pretty soon. If that's okay. I have to take my kid to a doctor's office, a doctor's appointment.
No problem.
All right. One last point before you leave. Then can we talk about how funny Seagal is in this movie? like how understatedly funny he is. Like it's crazy to me, like the lines he comes up with, and it's not just about like the escalator sequence is obviously the one that stands out to me, but like there's just so many like little subtle lines in the background where like he can't hide his comedic chops, how good he is. But yeah, you don't throw oranges on an escalator, lady, is obviously like, and then her comeback of like you can't even throw. I love that sequence.
It's great.
But I think he's so good in this. I mean, he's so hilarious. Yeah, I mean, just coming back to the point of like, I really wish there were more like George Segal and Elliot Gould retrospectives where we could, find these two men and celebrate them more than we actually do.
Yeah,
I'm surprised there aren't, especially with Altman's reputation. You know what I mean? I'm surprised that that this movie doesn't, and this movie in particular, doesn't get more love. You know,
it definitely should.
I think Altman's. His prolific nature kind of hurts him in a lot of senses as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he made so many films that I think it's easy to kind of forget the absolute bangers that he did, especially in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Not to say that like he did things in the 90s too that were great, but I mean, like who's watching Pret-a-Porter or Prairie Home Companion these days? Nobody.
That was
Dr. T and the Women.
There you go, Dr. T and the Women. Yeah.
Well, hey, let's sign off officially for Will. So just as a reminder for everyone who's listening, please go look for The Confession at all of your streaming services. Buy a copy at each one. Yeah, I mean, like, Will, please keep in touch. We'd love to learn what's coming up next. And if you're at any of the local film festivals, again, please look us up because we'd love to hang out and chat.
Yeah.
Of course, man. We'd love to. It was fun chatting with you guys again.
Yeah, Will, thank you so much. Good luck at the doctor. All right.
Thank you. Say a prayer.
Yeah.
And everybody else, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
And keep screaming.
William, did I ever show you my one-arm piccolo player? The man is a classic. The man is world-renowned. William, you got to check this out. William, for me, you got to check this out, William. The man is known all over the world. Now listen, just watch me. When I reach my crescendo, for me, you got to give me a little hand. A little applause, William, okay? Right? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, your beloved, world-renowned, one-armed piccolo player. And now a little pause, come on. Thank you very much. You need a partner? What? A partner.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. You gonna take it away now?
You have been listening to Why Does the Wilhelm Scream with your hosts, Brock and Jason. If you liked today's episode, do us a favor and rate, review, and subscribe in whatever application you use to consume podcasts these days. You can reach us by visiting whydoesthewilhelmscream.com. If you are in the DFW area, we would love to see you at a Fort Worth Film Club event. You can learn more about those and find a full schedule at fortworthfilmclub.com. And you can learn about my foundation and how we are trying to foster the next generation of film lovers at realhousefoundation.org. That's REEL housefoundation.org. Till next time,